Now in this video I am going to discuss about the factors affecting aircraft performance and stability. Now in this, the first topic is on angle of incidence. We have discussed and defined angle of attack in the earlier video. A related but different terms is angle of incidence. The angle of incidence is angle of incidence of a wing is the angle formed by the intersection of the wing chord line and the horizontal plane passing through the longitudinal axis of the aircraft. Angle of incidence is shown in this figure. Airplanes are usually designed with positive angle of incidence, in which the leading edge of the wing is slightly lighter than the trailing edge. Slightly higher than the trailing edge. The correct angle of incidence is essential for low drag and longitudinal stability. Many airplanes are designed with a greater angle of incidence at the root of wing than at the tip. The characteristic of a wing is called washout. The purpose of washout is to improve the stability of the aircraft as it approaches a stall condition. The section of the wing near the fuselage will stall before the outer section, thus enabling the pilot to maintain good control and reducing the tendency of the aircraft to fall off on one wing. If a wing is designed so that the angle of incidence is greater at the tip than at the root, the characteristic is called washout. The wings of an aircraft is used to compensate for propeller torque. Propeller torque causes the aircraft to roll in a direction opposite that of the propeller rotation. To compensate for this, the right wing is rigged or designed with a smaller angle of incidence at the tip than that of the left wing. Thus, the right wing is washed out more than the left. Now, second term is decalage. D-E-C-A-L-A-G-E, decalage. Decalage is the angular difference between the mean aerodynamic chord of the wings of a biplane. The angle of a wing setting or chord angle is the same thing as the angle of incidence. Therefore, we can say that decalage is the difference between the angle of incidence of the wings of a biplane. The decalage is measured by the angle in bracket less than a right angle bracket closed between the chords in a plane parallel to the plane of symmetry. The decalage is considered positive if the upper wing of a biplane is set at the larger angle of incidence. In this figure, there is an angle of incidence for the upper wing but none of the lower wing, hence there is a positive angle of decalage, which is this particular case happens to be the same as the angle of incidence of the upper wing. On the figure which I am giving you, in this the lower wing has an angle of incidence but the upper wing has none. Hence there is a negative angle of decalage. In this particular case, the angle of incidence of the lower wing is the angle of decalage. If the upper wing were set at an angle of incidence of 3 degree and the lower wing were set at an angle of incidence of 2 degree, there would be a positive angle of decalage of 3 degree minus 2 degree equals to 1 degree. If the chords of the upper and lower wings of a biplane are parallel, the downwards of the upper wing has the effect of decreasing the angle of attack of the lower wing. Setting the lower wing at a greater angle of incidence will more properly distribute the lift between the two wings, since the upper and lower wings then have different angle of incidence. They have different angles of attack in flight, and there will be a difference of pressure distribution between them. Positive decalage gives the upper wing an increase in load percentage, especially at high speed. Negative decalage gives the lower wing an increase in load percentage. Each of the wings will reach its bubble point at a different angle of attack, with the result that a stall will be less abrupt. On lift curves, this condition is shown by the flatter peak. Now, important topic is coming again. It's a dihedral. The word dihedral is derived from the prefix di, meaning two, and the Greek word hedron, meaning plane. A dihedral angle, therefore, is an angle formed by the intersection of two planes. In aircraft terminology, dihedral means the lateral angle of the wing with respect to a horizontal plane. This is illustrated in this figure. Positive dihedral exists when the tip of the wings above the horizontal plane passing through the root of the wing. Negative dihedral exists when the tip of the wing is below the horizontal plane passing through the root of the wing. Negative dihedral is also called the cathedral. The purpose of positive dihedral is to provide lateral stability for the aircraft. Usually, a wing will provide the greatest amount of lift if it is in a perfectly horizontal position laterally. When an airplane is designed with dihedral, both wings will form angles with the horizontal plane. If the aircraft rolls slightly to the right, the tip of the right wing moves downward and the lift of the wing increases. At the same time, the left wing lift is decreased because the angle with the horizontal plane is increasing. The airplane therefore is subjected to more lift from the right wing and less lift from the left wing. This causes the airplane to roll back to the left to resume a level position. These effects are illustrated in these two figures. Monoplanes compared with biplanes. The early airplane designers and builders reasoned that the biplane would provide more lift tilting surface than a monoplane of the same span. But they soon found that drag was caused by interplane interference and also by the struts and wires. Many designers were aware that a cantilever, that is in bracket unbraced monoplane will tapered wings was superior on a basis of aerodynamic performance, but they had not yet developed a deep aerofoil section that would eliminate the need for external bracing. Furthermore, they lacked materials that would provide the necessary structural strength and rigidity for an unbraced wing. The early biplane designers also argued that even if they had a deep airfoil section and the proper materials for building cantilever wings, the biplane was structurally more efficient, provided more visibility, and was more maneuverable. There were other alignments that were extremely important, although they were seldom mentioned. One was that those making biplanes had a vast amount of money invested in the equipment. Another was that the engineers and mechanics were reluctant to change from familiar procedures for untried methods. For all these reasons, the conversion from biplane to monoplanes was a slow process. However, today the monoplane is the accepted type of aircraft, and no new planes are being regularly produced, even though many are still in use, especially as agricultural aircraft. Now, auxiliary airfoil and controls. In this, we will go for those which are important in aircraft. These are wing flaps. First, we will discuss about the wing flaps. The purpose of wing flaps of an airplane is to reduce the landing speed by increasing lift and drag and make it possible for the airplane to land on a shorter runway than it would otherwise require. The effect of a wing flap to vary the effective camber of the wing, although it is usually accomplished with a substantial increase in drag. A flap hinged to the trailing edge of the wing acts as an air brake when it is deflected sufficiently. This makes it possible for the airplane to have a steeper angle of descent for the landing without increasing the airspeed. I will give you a figure which shows the advantage of using flaps to enter a small field over an obstruction. Wing flap is defined by the NASA as a hinged, pivoted or sliding airfoil, usually near the trailing edge of the wing. It is designed to increase the lift, drag or both when deflected and is used principally for landing, although large airplanes use partial flap deflection for takeoff. When the flaps are placed at 30 degree, there is a substantial increase in lift and very little increase in drag. Now, why wing flaps are referred to as high lift devices? Sorry, not why wing flaps are referred to as a high lift devices. Some of the basic types of flaps designed are illustrated in the figure which I am giving you. A basic airfoil without a flap is shown at the top. The next drawing is a plane flap. This plane resembles an aileron in configuration. However, it is linked with the flap of the opposite wings so that both flaps move down and up together instead of moving in opposite directions and the ailerons do. Normally, flaps are installed inboard of the aileron of a monoplane, although in some cases they may be placed both inboard and outboard of the ailerons. The split edge flap is usually housed flush with the lower surface of the wing immediately forward of the trailing edge. This flap is illustrated in the middle of the figure. The split edge flap is usually nothing more than a flat metal plate hinged along its forward edge. The Jap flap, similar in design to one called the Alfaro flap and shown in the drawing next to the bottom of the figure, is roughly similar to the plain split flap when it is fully retracted, but as the flap is opened, the hinge and moves rearward to keep the trailing edge of the wing and the flap on a line perpendicular to the chord of the wing. The Fowler flap shown in the figure is constructed so that the lower part of the trailing edge of the wing rolls back on a track, thus increasing the effective area of the wing and at the same time lowering the trailing edge. The flap itself is a small airfoil that fits neatly into the trailing edge of the main wing when closed, as shown in this figure when the flaps open. The small airfoils slides downward and backward on tracks until it reaches the position desired by the pilot, thus providing a wing with a variable coefficient of lift and a variable area. With the Fowler flap, the wing area can be increased and at the same time both the lift and the drag are increased. The exact amount of increase of each depending upon the angle of attack, depending upon the angle of which the flap is lowered. The Fowler flap is one of the designs which are particularly well adapted for the aircraft at takeoff as well as landing. slotted flaps have been developed to provide even more lift than the flaps described previously. When such flaps are extended, either partially or completely, one or more slots are formed near the trailing edge of the wing. The slots allow air from the bottom of the wing to the flow to the upper portion of the flaps and downward at the trailing edge of the wing. This aids in preventing the airflow from breaking away into turbulence and creates a downward flow of air, which produces an upload and upthrust to the wing. Triple slotted flaps are shown in this figure. At normal flying speeds, when flaps are fully retracted, that is, when they are all the way up, they have no effect on the lift characteristic of the wing. On the other hand, when they are lowered for landing, there is increased lift for smaller angle of attack of the basic airfoil, and the maximum lift coefficient is greatly increased, often as much as 70%. The exact amount of increase depending upon the type of flaps installed. The curves of this is shown in this figure, which illustrates the characteristic of the wing with flaps and without flaps. With the increase of lift comes a decrease in landing speed, but there is also an increase of drag when the flap is down, and this requires a steeper glide to maintain the approach speed. The increase of drag also acts as a brake when the airplane is rolling to a stop on the landing strip. The person who leaves an airplane equipped with flap for the first time may experience some difficulties. The obvious remedy for any dangers that may accompany the use of flaps is careful pilot training. The advantages and disadvantages of using flaps listed here are the general ones usually presented to pilots and technicians. Like all such statements, they are subject to exception. The advantage of using flaps are as follows. Number one, the higher lift coefficient obtained from the use of flaps permits a lower landing speed. Now, number two, when air brakes are used, flaps permit a shorter run on the ground in stopping the airplane. Now, number three, the use of flaps make it possible to have a steeper gliding angle without increasing the speed, thus permitting the airplane to clear obstacle in landing and also make easier spot landings. Using flaps on an airplane also has certain disadvantages. These disadvantages should be understood by the pilot and the technician so that they can operate and maintain the aircraft properly and safely. These disadvantages of using flaps are as follows. Number one, the use of flaps requires training and skill on the part of the pilot. Number two, the flap is not automatic in operation, hence it controls requires additional time and thought from the pilot. In bracket, the disadvantage is actually part of the one given above, bracket close. Now number 3, flaps add to the weight of an airplane and increase the possibility of mechanical failure. Number 4, since the flaps normally extend along the trailing edge of the wing between the ailerons, it is possible that when fully extended, they may have some effect on the lateral control of the airplane. The amount of effect depends upon the size and type of flaps as well as the design of the airfoil. Now, third I am going to give you is slots. It is number 2 is slots. The slot is also a high lift device because it improves lift. It is a nozzle shaped passage through a wing designed to improve the airflow conditions at higher angle of attack and slow speeds. It is normally placed near the leading edge and is formed by a main and an auxiliary airfoil or slat. A slat is a movable auxiliary airfoil attached to the leading edge of the wing, which when closed falls within the original contour of the wing and which when opened forms a slot. Slots are illustrated in these two figures. There are two general types of slots, the fixed and the automatic. When the fixed type is used, the airflow depends on the angle of attack. As the angle of attack of the wing increases, more of the air is deflected through the slot, thus maintaining a streamlined flow around the wing. The automatic slot consists of an auxiliary airfoil nestled into the leading edge of the wing. While the wing is at low angle of attack but free to move forward a definite distance from the leading edge at high angles of attack to form a flat nozzle in brackets slot, through which a portion of the air stream flows to the deflected along the upper surface of the wing. The figure which I had given earlier, which shows the effect of the air stream diverted by a slot and the advantage gained by its use. The center picture shows the airfoil with a slot closed at a high angle of attack. The airfoil is shown in a stalling position, leading edge of the wing. Stalling position because the bubbling of the air reaches almost to the leading edge of the wing. The top drawing shows the airfoil at a medium angle of attack. It is apparent that the airflow depends not only upon the presence of the absence of the slot but also upon the design of the basic airfoil. Hence, a different airfoil would have a different pattern of airflow. The auxiliary airfoil section is a highly cambered airfoil, normally mounted on the leading edge of a wing. When this airfoil is nested against the leading edge of the wing, the airfoil will be shown in the top two drawings which I have given earlier, which is effect of slot on wing performance. However, it is free to move on a system of linkages that can be supported by the front spar of the wing. When the auxiliary airfoil is moved forward of the wing, leading edge at high angle of attack to form the slot, the air flows through the slot from the high pressure region below the wing to the low pressure area above the wing, as shown in the bottom drawing of the figure. The air that has come from the high pressure region below the wing is now deflected along the upper surface of the wing by the shape of the slot, and this flow of air postpones the breakdown of streamline flow that accompanies an increase in the angle of attack. If the slot is well designed and is working properly, the burble point will not be reached until the angle of attack is very much greater than that of a normal stall. In some cases, the bubble point will not, in some cases, the bubble point will not be reached until the angle of attack is almost twice that of a normal stall. But it must be understood that a general statement cannot be made that will apply to all circumstances. Now, the second figure illustrates the effect of the slot on the lift coefficient. Notice that at angles where the slot is open, the lift is greater and the maximum coefficient of lift occurs at a much higher angle of attack. This indicates that an airplane with a slotted wing has a lower stalling speed than one without slots. Other things being equal. Earlier we have read that it was shown that the pressure distribution changes with the angle of attack. The automatic operation of the slot depends upon this fact. There is a down load on the leading edge of the wing at lowest angles of attack. As long as the condition continues, the slot remains closed. But as the pressure is reduced over the auxiliary airfoil, the resultant of all forces acting out on it finally attains a value and direction sufficient to move the auxiliary airfoil forward. The automatic slot has disadvantages as well as advantages. The number of moving parts and the weight of the wing are increased. In the past, weight was also added because it was necessary in the case of some airplanes to have longer landing gear. Struts to eliminate skid landings brought about the increased angle of attack at the stall. The slot must be installed properly and operate equally well on both wings, or they are useless. If a slot on one wing should open before the slot of the opposite wing opened, disastrous result could occur. The usual location of the slots is such that they are subjected to the formation, and in spite of any anti-icing or de-icing equipment, they may fall to function. If any of these factors ensure a lock of balance, the airplane may accidentally spin and lateral control may be impaired. For these reasons, a device is usually provided for locking slots in a closed position. If they do not function properly, or if the pilot wishes to perform violent maneuvers. A locking device is normally controlled from the cockpit. Now the figure I am giving you, which illustrates the effect of having a combination of slots and flaps. With this arrangement, it is possible to have a much lower landing speed, better control of the flight path, and at least a partial elimination of the nose heaviness that may result from the use of flaps alone. It should be understood that this figure is based upon a particular set of conditions and does not illustrate the effect produced by various airfoils and combinations of different flaps and slots. Other types of flaps and combinations with slots will produce values differing from those shown in this figure. Now the next third one is leading edge flaps. A leading edge flap is a high lift device which reduces the severity of the pressure peak above the wing at high angles of attack. This enables the wing to operate at higher angle of attack than would be possible without the flap. One method for providing a wing flap is to design the wing with a leading edge that can be developed as shown in this figure. Another method for providing a leading edge flap to design an extendable surface that fits smoothly into the lower part of the leading edge. When the flap is required, the surface extends forward and downward as shown in the second drawing of the figure. Now the fourth one is vortex generator. It is very also important because now most of the aircraft are having these things, vortex generator, modern aircrafts. Now even though most modern jet airlines do not fly at the speed of sound, that is in bracket Mach 1, there are certain areas on the airplane where the airflow velocity will be greater than Mach 1. This is particularly true at the upper surface of the parts of the wing, where because of the curvature of the wing, the air velocity must increase substantially above the airspeed of the airplane. This is illustrated in this figure. Which shows an airfoil profile moving through the air at high subsonic speed. A short distance back for the leading edge of the wing above the top surface is of the air reaches supersonic speed at this rear part of the wing of the supersonic area where the airflow returns to subsonic speed. A shock wave is formed to the rear of the shock wave. The air is very turbulent and this area of the wing is in effect partially stalled. This of course causes a substantial increase in drag, which increases as speed increases. In order to reduce the drag caused by supersonic flow over portion of the wing, small airfoils called vortex generators are installed perpendicular to the surface of the wing. On the Boeing 720 airplane, a total of 96 vortex generators are mounted in 2 rows as shown in this figure. There are 23 generators in the forward row and 23 in the aft row. The 2 rows are parallel and center span by aft of the inboard nacelles, with the aft row extending slightly more inward than the forward row. The vortex generators are mounted in complementary parts as shown in the drawing here. This arrangement causes the vortices being developed to add to one or other, thus increasing the effect. See, here I am reading this in slowly manner. Thus does not manner that I may go for speed leaps. It is here make to clear that you know every word in a simplified manner and understand each and everything. Because of the low aspect ratio of the vortex generator, they develop a strong tip vortex. The tip vortex causes air to flow upward and inward in a circular path around the ends of the airfoil. The vortex generated has the effect of drawing highly energy air from outside the boundary layer into the slower moving air close to the skin. The strength of the vortex is proportional to the lift developed by the generator. To operate effectively, the generators are mounted forward of the point where separation begins. Drag reduction achieved by the addition of vortex generator can be seen in the the rise curve, since the generators effectively reduce the shock-induced drag associated with the sharp rise in the curve at speed approaching Mach 1. The curve is pushed to the right as shown in this figure. Addition of the vortex generator actually increases overall drag very slightly at lower speeds. However, the gains at cruise speed more than balance out the losses of lower speeds, since the airplane spends most of the flight time at cruise speed. The net gain is significant. Now I am giving you a review questions on this video, that is airfoil and their applications, and secondly the shapes and sizes, and lastly auxiliary wing